Death Note portrays Light Yagami as a true genius who, throughout his journey, seems almost flawless and rarely makes mistakes. But the truth is, Kira doesn't win, and the main reason is none other than himself. Throughout the story, Light makes a series of blunders that gradually give away his true identity. And while the series often saves him so he doesn't get caught right away, without those convenient plot twists, he would have been taken down much earlier. Today, I'm going to show you more than 8 key mistakes that completely ruin Kira's victory. Let's kick off this episode full of blunders, starting right from the very beginning of Death Note all the way to the end. At this point, Kira has already been killing mercilessly for a while, and the world is starting to suspect that a serial killer is on the loose. That's when a mysterious agent known as L steps in, an expert at solving impossible cases, who publicly announces that he's going to catch the culprit behind all these crimes. And this is exactly where Kira makes his first big mistake, the one that starts exposing his real identity. See, at the moment, it was practically impossible to track him down. No clues, no trails, nothing. But Light, blinded by his temper, couldn't help himself and ended up killing the fake L on live TV just because he called him evil. That single outburst of ego was enough for the real L to narrow the suspect list from literally the entire human race, or even some divine force, down to someone in the Kanto region of Japan. He even concluded that it was probably a student or a teacher. And a pretty spoiled one at that, a ridiculous mistake that could have been completely avoided if Light had just turned off the TV and kept on with his mission of taking out criminals. Now, let's move on to the second mistake, which is even dumber than the first, though technically it's a direct consequence of it. In one episode, Light realizes he can access classified information using his dad's computer, since his father is the head of the police in Kanto. While snooping, he finds out that L already suspects Kira is a student because the killings only happen during times when there are no classes. Thinking he's the god of intelligence, Light comes up with a so-called master plan. Start killing at different times to throw L off. At first glance, you might think, well, that was a smart move from Kira. But nope, what he actually did was shrink the suspect list even more, from all the students and teachers in Kanto to only those who had access to police intel. In other words, he basically outed himself. Once again, this mistake was totally avoidable. He could have just stuck to his usual schedule, or better yet, start killing criminals overseas. But no, Light has zero emotional control. And honestly, worse than me. Because of all these ridiculous mistakes, I said in a previous video that the Scooby-Doo gang could have caught Light. I'll leave the link to that video in the pinned comment in case you want to check it out. Now then, this third mistake from Light is on another level of stupidity, one that's honestly hard to believe. Let's imagine for a second that Light didn't care about his past blunders, or the fact that the suspect list kept shrinking. After all, he trusted the Death Note as some supernatural object that was impossible to trace. Even if he was the only suspect left, how could L possibly suspect a power like that? Well, guess what? It was Light himself who ended up confessing to L about the existence of the Shinigami. Yep, you heard that right. This so-called genius thought it would be fun to drop hints about forces beyond human comprehension. He even went as far as sending letters that imply the existence of these beings. Honestly, I sometimes wonder if Light's a long-lost relative of mine, because the amount of stupidity he pulls off makes him feel more like family than a supposedly brilliant anime character. And really, it goes without saying that this mistake was totally avoidable. Light Yagami was a genius, sure, but his ego and lack of self-control kept dragging him down again and again. And to be fair, he wasn't the only one messing up. The series itself screwed up big time with 2 glaring errors involving Ryuk. According to the rules, Shinigami are supposed to be nothing more than observers, never interfering or helping the one who holds the Death Note. But those rules get tossed right out the window at least twice. First, when Ryuk warns Light that an FBI agent is tailing him. Second, when he helps Light find the hidden cameras in his house. So yeah, in both cases the series breaks its own rules just to push the plot forward. Let's move on to the fourth mistake of our so-called genius. Thanks to all his slip-ups so far, L has already narrowed down the suspect list to about 50 people. And to top it all off, he assigned an undercover FBI agent to follow each one of them. When Light realized he was being watched, instead of keeping calm, he panicked and made yet another colossal blunder. Our favorite super genius came up with the brilliant idea of figuring out the agent's name so he could kill him in a public place full of cameras. Obviously, that move made it crystal clear that Kira was behind everything. This little stunt shrank the suspect list even further, from all the teachers and students with access to the police database in Kanto, down to just those being shadowed by an FBI agent. Bravo, Light! You spit up and didn't even move. It's clear you love ruining your life all by yourself. This mistake was ridiculously easy to avoid. If Light had just done nothing, he would have been cleared from the suspect list before L even took a second look at him, since the agent tailing him had already said, "I didn't find anything suspicious about Light, so I'm going to start watching him." I'm actually getting pissed off at how stupid Light can be. But anyway, let's take a break from Light's endless mistakes and talk about a flaw that's been there since the beginning. One that's basically checkmate for all of Kira's little schemes. Right from the start, we get a massive inconsistency. A team of elite agents break into Light's house, specifically his room, and install cameras everywhere with such skill that they're practically undetectable. And yet, we're supposed to believe that this same professional team didn't take a single minute to check the desk drawers? Because if they had, they would have found the hidden compartment with a homemade explosive Light kept in there. I don't even know whether to call this a plot hole or just plain police incompetence. You guys decide. This fifth mistake from Light is so massive it doesn't even deserve a name. Turns out the FBI agent Kira killed on the train had a girlfriend, Naomi Mizora, a former FBI agent who was actually sharper than L's entire team put together. On her own, she managed to figure out almost everything Kira was doing, and her deductions were even more accurate than L's. With all that evidence, Naomi decides to go to the police to hand it over, but on the way, she runs into Light. During their conversation, she mentions she has solid proof against Kira. Being smart, Naomi refuses to give her real name. She knows Kira needs it to kill her, but Light, obsessed as always, keeps pressing until he finally gets it and writes it down in the death note. And as if that wasn't enough, he casually drops the bomb that he himself is Kira, without stopping to think for even a second that Naomi might be carrying a hidden mic just in case something happened to her. Once again, his total lack of self-control betrayed him. That confession was completely unnecessary.
Because I'm Kira.
And here's the kicker. Light didn't even know Naomi existed. He ran into her purely by chance. If the script hadn't conveniently made them cross paths at that exact time and place, Light would have been caught right then and there. But it gets worse. In the same situation, after the police learn of Naomi's death and suspect she might have had crucial info on Kira, nobody, absolutely nobody, thinks to check the surveillance cameras at the police station. If they had, they would have seen that the last person to be with her alive was none other than Light Yagami. Seriously, I can't believe the anime left such a ridiculous plot hole. At this point, Kira should have already been caught by the police thanks to all the ridiculous mistakes he's made. But nope, the show just keeps bailing him out over and over again. Honestly, I don't even know if I should keep going on with this video or just stop here. But you know what? Let's push on a little longer. There's still plenty to rant about. Welcome to the mistake I've completely lost track of. After Light meets Misa, and they become both a couple and partners in crime, L sets a trap. He brings them together, and Misa ends up in police custody. And right at that moment, our genius, Light, decides it's a brilliant idea to call Misa just seconds after she's been handcuffed. The problem? L is the one holding her phone, standing literally 2 meters away from him. Congratulations, Light! You managed the impossible, shrinking the entire suspect list down to a single person, yourself. By this point, L was completely sure that Light was Kira. All he needed was one piece of hard evidence to nail him completely. And once again, as always, Light's total lack of self-control betrayed him. Bravo! At least it makes me feel like I'm not the only one with serious self-control issues. Now, the next mistake. I honestly don't even know how to describe it. It's just beyond ridiculous. Let's call it I've Lost Count Part 2. You know what? Fuck it. I'm done. I've managed to piss myself off just by ruining the series for me.